Picture this. Deep inside a top-secret government facility, a physicist stares at calculations not just capable of mass destruction, but of ending the world. His name was Edward Teller, and in the 1950s, he proposed something so extreme that even seasoned military officials would call it a crime against humanity. What if I told you that someone once seriously considered building a single bomb powerful enough to wipe out the entire planet? Not just a country, not a continent, everything. Welcome to Project Sundial, the most terrifying weapon never built. But before we dive deeper, we need to separate fact from legend. The historical record around Sundial is murky, with some details coming from declassified documents and others from the recollections of scientists decades later. What we know for certain is that during the early Cold War, theoretical discussions about world-ending weapons did occur at places like Los Alamos and Lawrence Livermore Laboratory. During the Cold War, when nuclear tension turned paranoia into policy, Edward Teller, the so-called father of the hydrogen bomb, was known for pushing the boundaries of nuclear physics. According to physicist Freeman Dyson and other contemporaries, Teller did explore concepts for extraordinarily large thermonuclear devices as part of theoretical weapons research. The idea wasn't necessarily a formal military project with a budget and timeline. Rather, it emerged from the scientific community's exploration of the theoretical limits of nuclear fusion, what physicists call scaling up hydrogen bomb designs. Teller wanted to create the ultimate deterrent, a device so apocalyptic that even contemplating war would become unthinkable. If one side fired, the whole world would vanish. The logic? Terrifyingly elegant. Total mutual destruction, no survivors, no second chances, just void. But this wasn't science fiction, it was theoretical physics pushed to its most extreme conclusion. And that brings us to what became known as Project Sundial. The concept wasn't simply a bigger nuke, it was a complete redefinition of warfare based on the principles of staged thermonuclear fusion. Think of it like a nuclear matryoshka, a series of nested explosive stages, each one triggering the next, building towards something humanity had never conceived. The theoretical device would have required enormous amounts of fusion fuel, primarily deuterium and tritium, and would have weighed thousands of tons. Some estimates suggested it could reach the size of a small building or freight train. The key innovation was in the staging. Unlike conventional hydrogen bombs that use a fission primary to trigger fusion, Sundial would have used multiple fusion stages, each more powerful than the last, creating a cascading reaction of unprecedented scale. Its estimated blast yield? Potentially 10 billion tons of TNT equivalent, though even this number comes with significant uncertainty as the physics at such scales had never been tested. Let that number sit with you for a moment. 10 billion tons. It's so massive, we lose perspective. So let's visualize it while acknowledging these are theoretical projections. Suppose such a device detonated in the Nevada desert. In the blink of an eye, a fireball would erupt, potentially 50 kilometers wide. That's not just a city, it's your entire horizon, replaced with temperatures approaching those found in stellar cores. At that scale, thermal radiation would race outward at the speed of light. Everything within several hundred kilometers would face instant ignition temperatures. The blast wave would follow, creating destruction on a continental scale. And yet, that would only be the beginning. The surrounding Earth wouldn't just burn, it would undergo nuclear transmutation, transforming into radioactive isotopes. The desert would become sheets of trinitite-like glass, glowing with residual radiation. Above, the sheer energy release would blast portions of the atmosphere into space, potentially damaging the ozone layer permanently. The electromagnetic pulse would disable electronics across multiple continents. Seismic waves equivalent to the largest earthquakes in recorded history would ripple across tectonic plates. The sound, if anyone survived to hear it, would be audible thousands of kilometers away. If this topic fascinates or terrifies you, hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps us keep exploring the untold chapters of our world. Now imagine the global aftermath. Massive amounts of soot, ash, and radioactive particles would enter the stratosphere, creating what climatologists now call nuclear winter. With sunlight blocked, global temperatures would plummet by 10, 15 degrees Celsius or more. Photosynthesis would virtually cease. Agricultural systems worldwide would collapse within months. Most people wouldn't die from the immediate blast. They'd die in the weeks and months after, from starvation, disease, exposure, and the breakdown of civilization itself. But here's the crucial historical point. This concept was never formally rejected because it was too evil. The reality is more complex. The US Military and Atomic Energy Commission had practical concerns. How do you deploy a weapon that weighs thousands of tons? How do you threaten adversaries without guaranteeing your own destruction? What's the strategic value of a weapon that ends civilization itself? More importantly, by the mid-1950s, military strategists were moving toward more flexible nuclear options. Weapons that could be used in various scenarios without ending the world. The doctrine of massive retaliation was already giving way to concepts like graduated deterrence. Even the Pentagon, which had embraced weapons of unprecedented destruction, recognized that total planetary annihilation offered no strategic advantage. You can't win a war by destroying everything, including yourself. And yet, here's the uncomfortable truth about what actually happened. We didn't build one sundial. Instead, we built something potentially worse, a global arsenal of smaller, more usable nuclear weapons. At the height of the Cold War, humanity possessed over 70,000 nuclear warheads, enough destructive power to exceed even Teller's theoretical superbomb, but distributed across delivery systems that made their use more conceivable. Today, around 12,000 nuclear warheads still exist worldwide. They're hidden in silos, loaded on submarines and mounted on missiles, ready to launch within minutes. And compared to a single giant superbomb, that sounds safer, right? But in reality, it may be far more dangerous. Smaller, tactical nuclear weapons lower the threshold for use. They create scenarios where leaders might convince themselves that limited nuclear war is possible, that you can use just a few without triggering global catastrophe. History shows this thinking is dangerously naive. Military simulations and war games consistently demonstrate how quickly limited nuclear exchanges escalate into full-scale exchanges. It's not a doomsday bomb, it's a doomsday machine. A vast, interconnected system of weapons, early warning systems, command structures and doctrine that, once activated, might prove impossible to control. And now, we're upgrading this system. The United States is spending over $1.7 trillion over 30 years to modernize its nuclear forces. China is expanding its arsenal toward an estimated 1,000 plus warheads by 2030. Russia continues developing new delivery systems. Other nations, including North Korea, Pakistan, and India, are expanding their capabilities. We're not just maintaining these weapons, we're making them more accurate, more reliable, more usable. The arms race hasn't ended. It's gone underground, hidden in defense budgets and technical improvements that rarely make headlines. So far, a combination of deterrence theory, diplomatic agreements, technical safeguards, and frankly, extraordinary luck have prevented nuclear catastrophe. But if extraterrestrial observers studied our species, they might reasonably ask, are you collectively sane? We're the only known intelligent species to develop the capability for self-extinction, and then to deliberately maintain and refine that capability across generations. The story of Project Sundial isn't just historical curiosity, it's a mirror reflecting our relationship with ultimate power. It forces us to confront a fundamental question. What does it mean to wield godlike destructive capability without corresponding wisdom or restraint? Science itself is morally neutral. It's a tool for understanding the universe. Nuclear physics can power cities or level them. The choice lies entirely with us. Edward Teller's theoretical superbomb was never built, but its conceptual shadow looms over every nuclear policy decision, every modernization program, every moment when world leaders must choose between escalation and restraint. Every day that passes without nuclear weapons being used represents a collective choice, a decision by imperfect humans to step back from the ultimate precipice. But that choice isn't guaranteed. It must be made consciously, repeatedly, by every generation. If you made it this far, give this video a like and consider subscribing. Together, we can keep asking the questions that matter most. The real question isn't whether we can end the world. We demonstrably can. The question is whether we're wise enough not to, and that question remains open.